I think I'm going to start. Thanks again for everybody for joining, and welcome to the webinar about Fabric Quantum Computing Sandbox program. So I'm Luke Ovaya. I'm the manager for the Quantum Technologies group at CMC Microsystems, who manage the Fabric program funded by the Government of Canada. I prepared a relatively short slide deck today to discuss the program, an overview, and some details. But really, we've given ample time for your questions at the end. So please hold and pause all questions till the end, but there'll be lots of time for you to ask anything you'd like to know. At the end, we'll unmute and give you the opportunity to raise your hand or speak up to ask your question live. But if you'd like to ahead of time, you can also enter your question into the Q&A box, and we'll make sure to get to that at the end of the meeting. Thanks, everyone. All right. So to begin, I just want to do a little bit of overview of what Fabric is itself. So Fabric is a strategic investment from the Government of Canada that's meant to stimulate the semiconductor ecosystem across the country. It's an ICED strategic response fund that leverages $120 million from ICED and up to $270 million total investment over the duration of the 5-year project. And the goal is to accelerate both the development of products made in Canada as well as fabrication processes through what we call challenge funding. And this is a competitive program that supplies funding for the development of these new processes or new products. And Fabric is really meant to support and leverage the existing strength that we have in the Canadian ecosystem surrounding key technology areas like photonics, MEMS, compound semiconductors, and of course, quantum technologies. With the recognition, of course, that technology development needs people to drive it and to make use of it, we also have a key mission to develop skills and secure the HQP, or highly qualified personnel pipeline. And part of the quantum-specific mission of Fabric is to continue to drive national readiness for quantum technology adoption. Now, Fabric is managed by CMC Microsystems, and for those of you who don't know us, we've been around for about 40 years. We're a not-for-profit who manages federal and provincial investments to drive cutting-edge technology R&D and adoption and application throughout Canada's high-tech ecosystem. We offer access to both advanced infrastructure and computer-aided design tools and other simulation tool access. We offer fabrication services from our partners across the global supply chain. And we do a lot of targeted training to help develop the talent pipeline in Canada that supplies the HQP to our advanced tech industry. We have a robust network of national and international collaborations across our collaborators across the globe. We work with leading agencies and industry worldwide. So like I mentioned, Fabric's major activities through the Challenge program, where we support process development in key technology areas like those listed here, securing the Canadian supply chain and establishing our commercial footprint nationally and internationally. And we also support product development. In particular, so far, we've had calls for Internet of Things, Edge AI, marine applications specifically, more currently going and on the way. The Challenge program so far has seen a lot of uptake across the country with over 200 expressions of interest and 31 funded projects so far. And hopefully, and they will be updating this list soon in the coming months as the existing calls finalize and the new calls are launched. To access any of our Fabric programs, including the Quantum Computing Sandbox, you must be a member of Fabric. Membership is free for any Canadian industry, not-for-profit, government agency, post-secondary institution. And with membership, you get access, of course, to participate on the challenge calls and the Quantum Computing Sandbox. You get access to the IP registry and repository from the work that's supported by Fabric, and you get access to other opportunities to collaborate, to take training, reskilling, and the other events that we do. You get access to the quantum services we offer, such as the Sandbox. So in detail, as a high-level overview, what is the Quantum Computing Sandbox? Well, first of all, I want to talk about the objectives. The aim of the Sandbox is to accelerate the adoption of quantum computing technology and quantum computing solutions across Canada. But we recognize that accelerating adoption and supporting access to quantum computing is not enough. We need the technical expertise to be able to make the most use out of the access given to these quantum computing platforms for both our academic partners as well as small medium enterprise or SMEs. So that's what the Sandbox does. It provides a fully funded direct access to global cloud quantum computing services, in particular up to 100,000 Canadian on each project, an access cost. And then it provides what we call challenge or R&D support from CMC's quantum computing tech team. I'll talk a little bit about that in more detail. It's open to all Canadian small medium enterprise, all post-secondary institutions in Canada, and not-for-profits. Multinational enterprises or international academic institutions can collaborate and can be listed as a collaborator on the proposal, but they're not allowed, or the application, but they're not allowed to be the lead applicant. I want to make a note early on that, as with many programs for non-academic organizations and non-post-secondary who apply, there is the standard 75% cap on the total government funding of the project. 5% of total project costs, I should say. And the last little note I want to make is that, of course, it is fully funded, but there is a 5% access fee just to offset associated costs for managing the program from CMC. And that's 5% of the total amount of cloud access that is awarded through the project. So I like to think about the Sandbox in a graphical way to understand a little bit about the structure. And at the center of the Sandbox sits Fabric, managed by CMC. And on one end is yourself, a Canadian user of quantum computing, or what we like to call the QCS applicant, or the Sandbox applicant. On the other end is the cloud quantum computing provider. And what we do is we negotiate with the provider an access and support contract that allows them to supply you with access to their cloud services. And at the same time, we negotiate with you a technical support and joint R&D contract that allows us to provide the R&D support from my team at CMC that I mentioned, as well as to fund the access. But like I'm trying to emphasize, that it is direct cloud access that you'll be receiving. So the quantum computing cloud provider will be directly providing you with access to their machine, to their cloud services. So there's no CMC middle person in terms of the access itself. We're very pleased to see that the program is supported by a large number of providers. From round one, you may or may not recall that we were very happy to have support from Pink, who were located in Sherbrooke in Quebec and manage both an IBM and a Pascal quantum computer. We also had support from Quantinuum in the US, QEra in the US, and Rigetti in the US. And we're happy to announce that for this round and moving forward, we will also have available access to IonQ's machines, as well as Quandela. And I do want to note, of course, that while these are our listed providers, so we have already secured agreements with, we're open to applications from any cloud accessible quantum computing provider in the world. So if someone is not on this list and you'd like to use them, please reach out and or include it in your application directly, as there's space for that in the application form. When it comes to what you should expect from the R&D support from the CMC team, I want to be upfront and first of all state that each project is guaranteed a minimum of 8 hours of support from the CMC staff. And the way we approach this is really a collaborative co-design methodology and mentality. So we're happy to engage with you at every stage of your development, across your application and your algorithm development, tailored to your specific scientific or business challenges. And we can be as hands-on as you would like and as you are comfortable given your development and your IP. And some of the things we can do are we can start at the very early stage and help you do use case discovery and problem scoping, right? So matching the challenges that you have in your business or science with the most promising approaches from quantum algorithms. We can work on developing the end-to-end workflow. So everything from developing a proof of concept for a small scale problem that is indicative of the performance of your challenge, all the way up to considerations for how to execute at scale. some of the more, even more detailed things, we have a lot of expertise in doing optimization of code to run on contemporary hardware, minimizing the total execution time, maximizing the fidelity or likelihood of success. And that's both for the NISC era devices that we see now, as well as the emerging sort of near-term, earlier fault-tolerant hardware that's coming about. We know a lot about troubleshooting quantum code and making sure that it actually runs correctly, and diagnosing the complex compilation or runtime errors you might encounter. Something we particularly have spent a lot of time thinking about is how to best implement error mitigation techniques for near-term operations to get the most out of the circuits you're trying to run today. And also as we enter into this early fault-tolerant era, helping understand how to make use of those new resources and where they can fit into your current demonstrations and your current workflow. So now a little bit about the structure of the program itself. So there are 3 tiers that you can apply for, and what a tier means is really just the duration of the project. And those are basically 13-week buckets. So there's a 13-week tier 1, there's a 26-week tier 2, and then a 52-week or full year tier 3, right? The duration of the project scopes out, what would be reasonably achievable. All these projects come with 8 hours of technical support a week, and the amount of access really actually doesn't really depend too much on the tier. It depends on what you're trying to accomplish and what you're trying to demonstrate. So if you can, if you have a large demonstration that you can fit into a 13-week project and require a lot of access to do so, that's perfectly appropriate. Similarly, spreading it out for a more R&D focused project over an entire year is also perfectly appropriate within scope for the program. So really the hardware allocation is going to depend on the provider as well, specifically. So that will be determined ahead of time at the application stage by you, and with us supporting if you so desire. We've also tried to break the program into a series of tracks, which are just broad categories for the kind of project you're going to do, because that does, to a large extent, influence the amount of hardware access that you'll need. Of course, these aren't meant to be hard and fast separations. You can absolutely select multiple of these tracks on the same application, and they can be customized to fit the shape of the project. We'll help you do that, but they also inform the evaluation procedure, as each track is going to be evaluated slightly differently to make sure that projects that bring value in a different way to the ecosystem and to your business or science can be appropriately judged. So the first track we call the demonstration track, and in a few words, that's really about deploying an application or a quantum computing solution at scale. So the kind of person that applies for a demonstration track, you're somebody who's a user of quantum computing, and you more or less already know what you want to run. What you're looking for from this program is support in your ideas implementation and scaling. So you're looking to get the access, as well as some of the support from CMC in optimizing the execution on the existing hardware and helping chart out your path to a scalable demonstration. On the flip side, we have the adoption track, which is really about trying to understand what quantum computing can do for your business or your science. So you're someone who's new to quantum computing. You want to understand where it brings value to your business or research. So here, the QCS is supporting you in developing use cases and proof of concepts, and using the hardware to inform the validity of those proof of concepts and the long-term scalability and viability of them. And then finally, we have the discovery track, which is about pushing the boundary of quantum information science at large. So here, you're someone who's an expert in quantum computing. You're a developer, and you have ideas who might benefit the ecosystem, and you want to show and proof out these ideas on real devices. So here, we're helping support the implementation and analysis of your ideas. So these is, I like to give examples here of things like new error correcting codes or new error mitigation schemes, or new algorithmic primitives that perhaps don't have an exact connection to an end sector user yet. So a little bit more About the specifics, in particular the eligibility. Of course, as I mentioned before, the lead organization, so the lead applicant must be a member of Fabric. You must be an incorporated or registered business in Canada, and you must have significant operations in Canada. So examples of the kind of organizations that fall under the lead category include small, medium enterprise, so SMEs, that's less than 500 employees, not-for-profit organizations, post-secondary or research institutes in Canada that are wholly owned in Canada, Indigenous organizations in Canada. And then we just want to mention here that international post-secondary or research institutions may not be lead, but you may participate as a collaborator. And the same applies to multinational enterprise, MNE. I want to be clear that only organizations may apply. Individuals are not eligible to apply. And along with that, we strongly recommend that the lead and collaborator organization have at least 3 full-time equivalent employees or can demonstrate the capability to perform the project realistically. And of course, you must be in compliance with all economic sanctions, etc., trade embargoes from the government of Canada. And all successful applicants will naturally be required to agree to a project agreement with CMC that sets out further terms and conditions of the proposed and approved project. So the program will be evaluated by an external evaluation group that does not involve CMC. And these evaluators will be judging or scoring the proposals or the projects on these 5 criteria. So the first one is industrial adoption, and that characterizes how likely the pathway of the project to lead to an application either in an end sector user of quantum computing or within the quantum computing industry itself. The second category is R&D impact, and that asks the question of how far the state of the art is advanced by the project, or to what extent new domains of research and development are opened and addressed by the application. The third category will be capability, which is a question of do you, the applicant, have the needed technical expertise and resources to implement the proposal, and have you identified gaps and how CMC technical support can fill those gaps and make a more well-rounded application. The fourth category is quantum ready workforce, and that asks how much the project is training and upskilling HQP in applications or skills for the quantum computing industry and the end sector user industry that are highly relevant. And then finally, the last category is equity, diversity, and inclusion. And we want to make sure that we are advancing the principles of EDI, and that is a key concern throughout all aspects of the project. So just a quick overview of the timeline. The project call is open now until January 31st of 2028. So we will be accepting applications anytime from now till then. The call actually opened on August 5th, so a couple of weeks ago. We're going to have 5 rounds of evaluation and then 5 potential rounds of project awarding. The first of these rounds, which is evaluation round 2, since evaluation round 1 occurred earlier this year from the first call. And that next round is scheduled to begin on September 28th, 2026. So any application submitted before 5 p.m. Eastern Time on September 28th, 2026 will be considered for evaluation during evaluation round 2. Any applications submitted after that time will be considered in one of the subsequent evaluation rounds, and those will happen in January of next year, 2027, May, September of 2027, and then the final evaluation period will begin in January of 2028. So just to be absolutely clear, make it clear one more time, if you submit your application before 5 p.m. Eastern Time on September 28th of this year, you will be considered for the first evaluation round. Subsequently, you will be evaluated at the next occurring evaluation round. So any applications that are not selected in a given round, you will be given feedback on the evaluation, and you'll be given the option to withdraw, to resubmit, or to proceed directly to the next round. And that'll be entirely up to you. And you don't need to make a decision immediately. So just to give a sense of the flow of the process, right now we're in what's called the application and review phase with, like as mentioned, the first deadline for evaluation is September. So here you are open and able to discuss with us at CMC at any point during this phase. So I would emphasize to please proactively reach out to us to talk about quantum computing access amounts for your project, the kind of R&D support we can do, and any other questions you may have, right? After you submit, while this phase continues, we may reach out to you if we think there are questions about access that need to be ironed out to make the application more clear, to support what the evaluation group does in the evaluation phase. The first of which for this new call will be in October of this year. And here the evaluation group is going to score the applications that we have received based off of the rubric that I showed earlier. And then they will make recommendations to the Fabric Advisory Committee, or FAC. And the Fabric Advisory Committee will make their will take those into account, and then they will make their final recommendations which applications should be selected. And they'll make that to the Fabric board, who will approve, and then notifications of selection and non-selection will be sent out to the applicants. And we're hoping to get all of this finished by the end of October 2026. After that, we'll start contracting, where, as I mentioned before, we will negotiate an access contract with the provider and the usage agreement with you. The providers will also provide to you, the recipients, terms of service that you'll have to agree to. And if all goes well and contracting can be completed quickly, then we are hoping to launch this round of projects either the end of this year in December or the start of next year in January. Of course, all dates are subject to change. This is our best guess and estimates, and we hope to be as quick as this, but we will see. So that's all from me. The call from applications are, of course, open right now. This QR code will take you to the application page. You can apply by emailing us at qcs@fabricinnovation.ca. If you have any questions, please reach us also at this email address. And you'll hear back from either myself or Hudson Mendez, the Director for Technology at CMC Microsystems. Thanks everyone for listening.